The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Maynard Bangs presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Bangs.
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice Holiday Special. Today we are hearing the case of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 1966, versus A Charlie Brown Christmas. How the Grinch Stole Christmas features the titular Grinch invading Whoville on Christmas Eve to pilfer and plunder any and all Christmas paraphernalia. A Charlie Brown Christmas explores Charlie Brown's holiday malaise as he seeks the true meaning of Christmas. The court would also like to extend a very merry thank you to friend of the court, Kaleigh DuLac, for joining us as a special guest juror. Thank you, Kaleigh.
Happy to be here.
I know you are. I could tell. I could hear it in your voice.
She only had to serve on jury duty once. What is this? I had to do it like 40 times.
Yes. It's, when you do it right, you'll never have to do it again. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, in civil cases like this, the counsel appointed to represent each film will present their case for why their client is the superior holiday special. And ultimately, the jury will render its verdict as to which is the better holiday special. This decision will hereby stand in all rankings and listicles from now on until the end of time ad infinitum. Mr. Of all the Ryan Luis Rodriguezes in the world, you're the Ryan Luis Rodriguezist. Ryan Luis Rodriguez, you are representing How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Scratching one of my jokes from the script. Thank you, Judge.
You present your opening statement. Rodriguezist.
Okay, whatever. Let's go. Long ago, a very smart frog once said, "It's not easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves, when I think it would be much nicer being red or gold or yellow or something more colorful than that." I'm not here to make the argument that the Grinch is necessarily misunderstood, but he does stand as one of the most important green characters in the history of art. Dr. Seuss created the character for Random House in 1957, but as iconic as that children's book is, the character has endured because of his appearance in Chuck Jones's 1966 animated television film, sharing the title, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Normally, I would be making the argument that How the Grinch Stole Christmas is innocent of being a bad movie, but thankfully I don't have to, given that this is a head-to-head competition. A Charlie Brown Christmas is a similar masterpiece from roughly the same era, but it's clear that The Grinch is the superior work. Through 3 succinct arguments, I shall prove this beyond a shadow of a doubt, without even having to try to drag the competition too hard. This is a slam dunk. Just as it would be if we put it up against the Jim Carrey live-action version, or the Benedict Cumberbatch animated version. Let's get on with it, shall we? Thank you. Case dismissed.
No, not this time. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguezist. Appearing on behalf of A Charlie Brown Christmas is Mr. Biggest Ben Haslar. Please present your opening statement.
You're on the wrong side, RLR, and you were really on a roll. The Grinch is far too simple. Charlie Brown is all the soul, RLR. Although The Grinch is a great song, I will give you that. I maintain that Charlie Brown is the superior special. Not only that, it's the OG special. It's the one that everyone, including the Grinch, tried to capitalize on. In a world where they just until recently played it every single year on national television, it's hard to imagine that this almost didn't happen. Studios were simply not interested in the project, and they were scared to death of the reciting of A Christmas Story in it. But Charles Schulz, he had a vision for this thing, and he was hands-on throughout the entire process. Not only is it just so funny, but it has something to say. It plays just as well for adults as it does for children, and hearing the first few jazzy notes play on the piano, you know it's Christmas time. The Grinch is Well, it's fine, I guess, but it doesn't say nearly as much. It's not half as funny, and it feels like it's padding its time in animation. And this is with a budget that was more than 3 times the amount that Charlie Brown had, and the fact that it had Charlie Brown as a blueprint for success. Look, we on the Charlie Brown team don't want to diminish the success of the Grinch. It's deserved. All we want is our fair share. All we want is what's coming to us. And we hope that Ryan doesn't have athlemophobia or the fear of losing, because we intend to see justice served today.
Wonderful.
Well, that is pretty great. Thank you, Mr. Haslar. Mr. Rodriguez-ist, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Proceed? Okay.
Yes, proceed.
No, proceed, I believe you said.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The
fight
masters of this animated special, Chuck Jones and Theodore Dr. Seuss Geisel, met in the 1940s during World War II, when Warner Brothers was producing a series of snafu propaganda cartoons. After the publishing of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Jones was dedicated to adapting the material in animation, but Seuss was wary given his unpleasant experience making his feature film debut, The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, an underrated masterpiece that everyone should seek out immediately. You probably can't find it, but you should look anyway. Jones was uniquely suited to bring this story to living motion, and it stands as possibly his best-looking non-Looney Tunes effort. Jones made a lot of television specials in the 1960s and 1970s, from The White Seal to Mowgli's Brothers, even other Seuss work like Horton Hears a Who, but nothing has ever approached The Grinch. The backgrounds by Philip DeGard, Bob Inman, and Hal Ashmead are masterpieces in minimalism. The character design is a miracle. Just look at the design of Cindy Lou Who may be the single most adorable-looking character ever, with those little mouth lines and those giant blue eyes, the thin wire hanger-like antenna. Maurice Noble is clearly an unsung hero here. The design of the Grinch himself is faithful to Seuss's original, but injected with enough Jones magic to make him a completely new character. In A Charlie Brown Christmas, the characters are direct translations, which is not a criticism necessarily, but stands as something more rudimentary than this reinvention.
Mr. Haslar, what do you have to say? Animation to animation. Does Charlie Brown hold up?
Well, Charlie Brown had a third of the budget, and it was done in probably less than half the time. So it does have one hand tied behind its back in this competition. But for 3 times the amount of the budget that the Grinch had, it still manages to do some things in animation that don't add up for me. Like his eyes, they're red, like he's a Sith throughout the whole thing, and then they turn blue at the end when he sees the light of Christmas or whatever, and then it constantly switches back between blue and red and blue and red. I don't know how you make that sort of mistake.
Well, what about that mistake, Mr. Rodriguez?
I don't believe it was a mistake. I believe that was part of the intentionality of it, that he's not completely changed at the end of the film. He's still a Grinch. He still has the characteristics of the Grinch. It's just that when his heart turns 3 sizes larger, that his eyes become blue, but it's not a permanent change. Like, he's still a monster. He just
he's continually trying to save the sled throughout it. Like, it's every cut.
Yeah, I think it vacillates, but I don't see it as a mistake. I see that as entirely part of the point.
It might be a circulation problem, you're saying.
Entirely possible. Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, you may proceed.
A Charlie Brown Christmas makes the brilliant decision to hire actual children, most of whom were non-actors, to play the kids in the special, where most animation of the time... Shut up. Where most animation of the time, and even through today, relies on adults to do the work. It lends a certain authenticity to the project that makes it stand out even further when looking back nostalgically. But The Grinch has Charlie Brown beat because of one voice it employs. Boris Karloff. Yes, Karloff the Uncanny. The man who essayed The Mummy and Frankenstein's monster is the voice of the Grinch and the film's narrator, and his sonorous tones are well matched by Jones's animation. The Grinch's saggy face and jagged teeth lend themselves to a voice that is so velvety and sinister, and it's hard to get more velvety and sinister than Karloff. And let's not forget that this is a musical. More than half of the special is buoyed by songs, the most iconic being You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, sung by the great Thurl Ravenscroft, who you may know best as the voice of Tony the Tiger, or countless Disneyland attractions like the Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, Country Bear Jamboree, and The Enchanted Tiki Room. And
He's
voice of Cindy
great.
Lou, yes, he is. And the voice of Cindy Lou Who, the great June Foray, best known as Rocky the Flying Squirrel and Natasha Vital in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. For such a small cast, it packs a real punch, and everybody comes to play and absolutely delivers.
Well, Mr. Haslar, sounds like the Grinch has a bunch of skilled professionals. What does your gaggle of school children have to beat that?
I would say that the Gaggle of School Children is iconic because it nailed the world of Charlie Brown in its first shot. There's been something like more than 45 Charlie Brown specials that followed this, and they all mimic the voices that were established in this first one because it was just so perfect. The Grinch, everything that followed it, not so much. It doesn't stick the landing. So Charlie Brown has the legacy of both Charles Schultz's work and the original casting and the design and the music of how they made this thing feel.
Do you think there's an advantage to employing children for the voice acting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Linus's voice is so endearing, particularly, but Charlie Brown also is the soul of the character. Putting adults in this role would have been a mistake. Every single character is on point.
Mr. Rodriguez, any rebuttals, or you may continue to your next exhibit?
I'll continue to my next exhibit, my final exhibit. How iconic is How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Well, I have read the source material more times than I could possibly count, and I don't remember it. Normally, this would be a criticism, but it's actually quite the opposite. The special is so strong that it has erased all my knowledge of the book. When I think of the Grinch, I think of Chuck Jones's film in a series of still frames. When I think of Max pulling the Grinch's sleigh, I think of this. When I think of the Who's of Whoville in their moment of serene kumbaya after the Grinch titularly steals their Christmas, this is what pops into my head. I honestly no longer have any idea what comes from the book and what's invented, and I'm okay with that. I know it has to be faithful to a certain point because it's written by Dr. Seuss, who also contributed the lyrics to the songs, but it's entirely possible that Seuss took creative license with his own work. And don't bother to tell me because I don't care. I care about this special exists, and it's a masterpiece, that it's the greatest distillation of Seuss's work in both animation and live action, especially live action, which tends to suffer in case you're unfortunate enough to remember The Cat in the Hat. Charlie Brown Christmas is a completely original work, so it's almost unfair to compare the two in this respect. It has nothing to have to match up to, whereas The Grinch must live up to its status as a perennial holiday favorite and one of the most important works of children's literature ever written. Because it stands out so clearly, it must be recognized as the finer of the two.
Mr. Haslar, any rebuttals?
I kind of disagree. I think Charlie Brown, it does have legacy to the books that followed it because it kind of has the advantage over the Grinch of being a best of reel of all of Schultz's work. Like it has all of his best comics up until that point represented. So you're just constantly laughing because all these jokes are deservedly very, very funny. They've stood the test of time. You're laughing at them in print. You're laughing at them as it's delivered. This special really has everything. It even has a Christmas queen.
That's true. So a lot of the gags in A Charlie Brown Christmas they were previously like in some Peanuts comic strip.
Well, certainly some of them were. Not all of them, because I think the plot of them like putting on the play, I think that was original to this.
It's wholly invented.
Yeah. And it's a good plot because that's something that they have kids do, and it's unfair. Like, why are you making kids do a Christmas play for you every year? This is just not cool.
I don't think traditionally kids direct them.
No, but there's no kids in this world
but
yet.
Charlie Brown's life is one nut punch after another, and so he must face these indignities, and we must watch it and feel depressed.
All right, and speak to that, Mr. Haslar. How does feeling depressed make us feel better around Christmas?
Well, this is where Charlie Brown shines over the Grinch because it has better meaning. I'm not sure that the Grinch touches on any meaning, really. The Who seem to celebrate regardless. It's unrealistic. If someone stole your Christmas, at the very least, you'd have a few questions. You wouldn't go outside and start caroling. There's no commentary onto why this is the darkest day of the year and they're making it the brightest, why St. Nick exists in this universe. I feel like I have more questions than answers as to how this holiday relates to Whoville. And all we know is that it doesn't come from a store. So yeah, thanks for the scoop, Grinch. But Charlie Brown, who is dealing with depression, that the holiday season isn't giving him any joy. He's doing all the rituals. He thinks they're fine, but neither the rituals nor the commercialization of gift giving gives him any real satisfaction. And this is one of the things that I love about Charles Schulz. He talks about this honestly, the emotional states of children, from depression. Yes, kids can feel lonely knowing that nobody loves them, to just how mean and rotten they can be to one another, like Violet smugly remarking that she didn't get Charlie Brown a Christmas card. The other thing that I love about Schulz is the humor involved, because practically all the characters get fun jokes to tell through some of these bits of the comics up until this point. But the real meaning shines with this Christmas tree that is invented. About midway through, he's sent to a Christmas tree lot where there's all this commercialism, all this aluminum, all this pink, and he sees this tiny pine tree surrounded by all the commercial aluminum. And this small, humble tree is the brightest light in the darkness of commercialism. And the kids don't see what Charlie Brown sees in this tree. But Linus gives us context by quoting the King James passage about tidings of comfort and joy, and what this means in dark times, which prompts CB to take this tree, despite what everyone doesn't see in it, and decorate it, leading to absolutely one of my favorite jokes in this special, because it's just so funny and so painful all at once, where he puts this glass ball on the tree and it topples, and he goes, "I killed it. Everything I touch gets ruined." Man, you just want to laugh and cry at once. Nothing in the Grinch even hits that emotional mark. And then the kids get to pitch in and celebrate this humble tree. And while Linus and Schulz, by extension, equate this to a biblical spawning point, I think that the message that it leads to with the tree translates to most everyone, which is why Charlie Brown is superior. The message in the Grinch is that presents don't matter. You can join in the celebration if you want to. The message in Charlie Brown is that, but it gives you context and reason to celebrate. And by far, it's the most heartwarming moment when the kids finally wish him a Merry Christmas.
Mr. Rodriguez, is there a meaning or message to the Grinch? Do the Who's worship Jesus Christ as we know him, or do they have a Whovian counterpart?
They must have a Whovian counterpart. I don't believe that they worship our Lord Jesus Christ, who is our Lord. Let's all accept it.
Did he also die for their Whovian sins?
He did, and he had those big blue eyes and those little wireframe antenna, and it was adorable. I only wish all saviors could die in such a resplendent way. The whole point about how the Grinch Stole Christmas is very much it's very rudimentary, but I don't think it's simplistic in that way. I think that it's the rejection of materialism that, especially as the 60s are progressing, it's a very commercialist time. It's very much about FOMO, or as I've just learned is called fear of missing out, where I just learned it. Every single bit of advertising of the time, of graphic design, everything is about telling you that what you need is something bigger than what you already have. And how the Grinch Stole Christmas is basically saying, no, that's bullshit. What you have is inside of you, and that's all you need. If you want to have a family, then be with your family. If you want to be alone, but don't take the enjoyment from other people. You got to make your own enjoyment. And I think that it's reserved, but I think that it's quite profound in its way. It's not trying to be ham-fisted. It's not trying to be operatic in these meager ambitions. It's just trying to tell a very simple story very simply. And I think that it's best that they don't pollute those ideas with further diatribes. And I think that it strikes the perfect balance.
All right, Mr. Haslar, proceed with another exhibit.
Yeah, I think I did my hardest punch first. I was wanting to save that for last, but I'll add another exhibit with the songs. Can anyone besides Kaleigh, who watches The Grinch every year, really quote that first song? Can anyone do it? Like Dabu Doris. This is gibberish. Like not
Christmas. Well, it
it's
is.
not
Yeah.
even Seussian clever gibberish, right? Nobody plays Dabu Dabos on the radio. The only song of note is "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." Whereas Charlie Brown's jazzy soundtrack, every one of these songs show up every year. And from the opening for Christmas Time is Here, playing to the holiday stations and supermarkets across the globe, to Trans-Siberian Orchestra covering Linus and Lucy. Not once did they cover a Grinch song, although admittedly it'd be a banger if they did.
That would be sweet.
That would be cool. Mr. Rodriguez, you've talked about the music a bit on your side already, but do you have anything to say against the Charlie Brown music?
I have nothing to say that it's against the Charlie Brown music, but I do think that it's kind of banal. It's very much, in a way, that How the Grinch Stole Christmas is rudimentary in terms of narrative. I think that in terms of lyrical exploration and in terms of song construction, the songs in Charlie Brown Christmas are they're very simple and not necessarily in a sophisticated way. And I think that...
Well, so is Charlie Brown. It fits.
I guess that's fair. But I would say that How You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch is hands down the most iconic song out of any of these specials, without a doubt. I have no qualms saying so whatsoever.
All right, yeah. Mr. Haslar, any rebuttals to that? Who wrote these Charlie Brown songs, huh? Paul McCartney?
No, some guy on a piano. But Linus and Lucy, it is just so energetic. You get in the mood every time you hear it. But yeah, I will cede that to You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch as well. Although I think the rest of the songs complete the opera, as it were, of Charlie Brown. And my last exhibit is Max and Snoopy. Max is a victim
Dog
and
be
a
dog.
witness. Half his animation is just him shrugging. There's nothing there. Snoopy, on the other hand, is just an absolute joy to behold. The kids aren't animated nearly as much because they saved that animation for Snoopy. He's just so great to look at him, from his ice skating to his dancing to his mocking Lucy's directing or dancing on Schroeder's piano. He has such the spirit of a true puppy within him, with his head in the clouds, just enjoying being around everyone. And he even gets embarrassed like puppies do in the most perfect, hilarious dog-like fashion. He looks and sounds absolutely perfect. And I will rest on Snoopy, sir.
Mr. Rodriguez, it's a dog-eat-dog world. What do you have to say?
I will not hear you besmirch the good name of Max the dog, god damn it. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that on a Christmas episode. I love Snoopy. Snoopy is Joe Cool. He's everything to me. But Max, that little bunched up body and those little shrugging shoulders and God, those eyes. Oh my God, he's so adorable. I just want to kiss him. Ah, how dare you say that Snoopy is better than Max? How dare you, sir?
You see those two in a pet store and you're buying Max. Are you
I
serious?
am
No,
buying
you're
Max in
getting
a
Snoopy.
heartbeat, and I'm tying a little.
No.
I'm tying a little reindeer horn on his head, and I'm making him drag my sleigh.
Well, I mean, Snoopy does eat bones whole. That's probably
That's freaky, man.
red flag
You're not
for
supposed to
me.
be able to do that. You can't munch
That
on
is
a bone
hilarious.
like that.
It's funny watching Charlie Brown just
Makes my
walking
teeth
by as
hurt.
he just
Oh my
court.
God.
All sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Rodriguez, you may begin.
Brilliantly animated, vividly realized, and thoroughly iconic, it's hard to think of a more impressive television special in the history of the medium. This comes from an era when there were only 3 television networks, so its status as one of the most beloved bits of family animation is well-deserved, given how many people watched it in its original run and continue to watch it in yearly rotation. I try to watch it every couple of years just to keep it fresh in my craw. My heart thoroughly warmed every time the Grinch's heart grows 3 sizes, or when the Who's of Whoville celebrate their holiday without the trappings of materialism. The images of Max pulling the sleigh and Cindy Lou Who questioning the Grinch upon his stealing of Christmas are burned into my subconscious, and it's a delightful thing. It's honestly a challenge putting this up against Charlie Brown Christmas, which is probably the only holiday television special that even comes close to equaling How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But I think it's clear which is the stronger work. It involves a lanky, green, Muppet-like monster who thieves an entire holiday. You can sense the influence it has exerted over the 50-odd years that followed, including the film that I'm recommending this week, hint, hint, which I won't spoil just yet. Happy holidays, gentlemen and ladies. Make the right decision, vote with your hearts, and hand the win to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Bah humbug and the like. Thank you. Case dismissed.
Stop that. Thank you. Mr. Haslar, please present your closing argument.
The darkest night of the year can be the brightest. It's natural to feel depression at times, but even the loneliest person can find some meaning and warmth. That's what Christmas is all about, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. And Charlie Brown Christmas Special has it in spades. It says so much more in under 30 minutes and is so genuine in its execution that it just seeks to be what it is and get its message across. Not only that, does that put it above the Grinch, but it also puts it above any Christmas special. Rudolph, we're gunning for you. Every juror in the courtroom, the tall and the small, is watching Charlie Brown's special and having a ball. They won't frown, they'll bear down. In every town in town, the sound of Charlie Brown will never turn down. Charlie Brown is a clown, I would give a gold crown. Even if you don't get a Christmas card, even if it seems like all people of the season are getting tacky aluminum trees, even when it seems like your dog is getting commercial, you still have good old Charlie Brown to provide you some warmth. Jurors, don't you think this is the best special? You didn't answer me right away. I know when I've been insulted. Well, if any of the 5 reasons I provided so far, I'll give you 5 additional ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Aren't those good reasons? Merry Christmas, blessed Yuletide, happy holidays. We thank you.
Oh, the Reels of Justice isn't just getting too commercial. It's getting too dangerous. Thank you all, members of the jury. Mrs. Kaleigh DuLac, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, and Mr. Maynard Bangs, you have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine which of the 2 holiday specials are the superior. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
I didn't come up with a joke this year, so Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, Merry Christmas, bailiff.
I re-gifted that from last year.
Oh.
All right, so Dylan, let's hear from you first. What did you think of those 2 arguments?
Well, thank you, Kaleigh. I thought they were both very well presented cases. I gotta say, Ryan's history with about that he brought forward about Chuck Jones and Dr. Seuss working together, I think was very relevant. I agree fully that the Grinch is the superior animated, just on a technical level, and Ben brought up some really good points about the messaging of each. I thought Ryan did a pretty good job of addressing that, saying, yes, the Grinch is rudimentary and simple, but that works. Charlie Brown being a little deeper, I think if the Grinch went in that direction, it would have suffered for it because Charlie Brown did such a good job hitting it. And then, music to music, it's nearly impossible to beat the Charlie Brown soundtrack, I have to say, though You're Me One, Mr. Grinch is, of course, very iconic. So I thought they both brought incredibly strong cases. And so I'm kind of thinking, it's kind of mulling over some of those things in my head is where I'm at now.
All right, should we come back to you on your final decision?
Yeah,
Okay. We don't have to gather.
Right,
anything,
okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then, Maynard, let's hear what you have to say.
We always say when we do head-to-heads, they're like, this is the toughest one we've done. But I think this one is the toughest one we've done. They're both 10 out of 10, 5 stars. They're both, anti-commercial holidays, which is nice, that they're about finding the simpler pleasures in the holiday. One tends to go more religious, and I think Grinch tends to go a little bit more family. Like the point on Snoopy beating Max. Snoopy's very entertaining, but Max is the good in the Grinch, right? Like you think of the Grinch as this bad guy, but he has this dog who loves him, and you know how much work dogs are. You have to love a dog back or it's just going to die. So
they say even Hitler loved his dog,
Yeah. So I don't know if the dog loved him back. I'm not sure. Dog wasn't in the shelter. But so I think Max is that little glimmer of goodness in the Grinch. So I think dog to dog, I do think Max is a better character because he has that depth, Snoopy is Charlie Brown's dog, but doesn't seem to care for Charlie Brown at all. Seems to dislike him.
Not really.
as much or more than the rest of the children do.
He hates having a weak master.
Yeah. Humor to humor, they're both really funny. I think there's that somberness to Charlie Brown where it's more like a like you kind of smirk and smile all the way through it, where I think Grinch actually still has some chuckles.
What do you think of the voice acting decisions, kids versus professionals?
What'd you think of that, Kaleigh?
So I think that the professionals definitely stood out. I can appreciate that having children made the lines delivered in Charlie Brown feel a lot more realistic. So I think they come off a lot funnier and punchier because of that. But yeah, like they both work really well because they're such different movies. Like I would hate The Grinch with child actors. I think it would just sound absolutely terrible. But it really worked in Charlie Brown. So it's like I can't say one was better than the other because they both worked so well for the movie that they were presented for.
I actually would like to see Charlie Brown voiced like with Boris Karloff as Linus. Everyone else is still a kid though, but just Karloff doing Linus. I mean, obviously the kid choice works great, and yeah, the kids' delivery have great ones like "Every year I'm a shepherd."
That's my favorite line in the whole movie.
Yeah, I might naturally curly hair. They have a lot of great stuff.
Despite
but I mean,
my outward appearance, I will endeavor to
that one I think is kind of a toss-up because you've got a great ensemble with the kids, whereas you've got the great solo performance from Karloff. We mentioned, Cindy Lou Who. She has like 2 lines, so it's kind of forgettable. It's all about Karloff and
small part, but she nails it.
And the singer, Tony the Tiger, the singer, too.
Carl
one thing we didn't mention much was about the writing, and I mean, granted, Grinch is based on the source material of the book, but there was some new stuff added. I do know what's new because I do know the book line for line, so I do know what's new. And every one time I listen to it, you'd think it came straight from the book because it's just as good as everything that would have been there. It's basically all the toy stuff they ring off in the beginning is a lot of it. But I mean, even though it's based on the source stuff, I mean, word for word, script for script, I got to give the writing to the Grinch, just dialogue anyway. Yeah,
I would agree
that's a lot
that.
of that's a lot of my thoughts.
That's something that Ryan brought up too.
I'd want to hear some more from Kaleigh on some of your thoughts.
Yes.
Do you watch both of these each year? Do you have one you prefer?
Actually, I hope that I'm not bringing too much bias because I've seen Charlie Brown a handful of times. I find it lovely, but I watch The Grinch at least 2 or 3 times every holiday season. So I've seen The Grinch copious amounts of time. I have it, like, as Ben had brought up, I have it memorized. And I think that really lends itself, it speaks really well to the writing of the Grinch. It's so easy to just flow in, and it gets you in the mood. And when you're wrapping presents and you're reciting the Grinch, even just the dialogue and not the songs, so that is the bias that I'm bringing into it. However, I did feel that the argument that Ben made about meaning, initially I came into this feeling I really didn't like the Charlie Brown meaning as much. Just it felt so heavy-handed to me every time I watched it, which is probably why I've not really returned to it too often. It does feel very religious, which is not something that resonates with me. But it also felt very much like, especially with the flashy Christmas trees, it's like the thing that I loved about the Grinch is you can have these crazy flashy Christmas trees and it's okay to be that extra, but you also have the true meaning of Christmas inside of you. You don't have to be a minimalist to love and have the meaning of Christmas. But I did really appreciate that the argument about depression, that even someone who is depressed can find the joy in Christmas. in the holiday season, find something to really love and appreciate. I loved that that message. I had not really picked that up from actually watching it, but having heard that, I thought that was brilliant. As far as the music goes, I have to put my 2 cents in here. I cannot name a single goddamn Charlie Brown Christmas music. I know that when it comes on the radio, I'm
They
like,
don't have
oh yeah, I
lyrics.
think this is a Charlie Brown song. But the Grinch, everyone knows the Grinch. Everyone knows that song. So I have to say, hands down, that is definitely the better song. If it's more singable, that's the song that you're going to go up to karaoke and sing. You're not going to sing anything from Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that Christmas Time Is Here, the opening song. I mean, I do think Christmas kind of doesn't begin till I hear that. Till I hear that little jazz and the brush across the snare drum. That
It's
is
very
definitely.
classy.
Yeah,
Very
it's
classy.
Christmas, and that's what's so funny is that it's so kind of against the grain of what you'd expect little kids, right? Here's little kids sitting around having deep discussions and listening to like stylized jazz.
I'm gonna butcher his last name, but it's Vince
Chlorophyll.
Guaraldi.
Guaraldi.
Wow.
I can't say it. Vince Guaraldi. Yes.
Yeah. See,
his trio.
That's
I love
the I would like to point out that that's classy Christmas, and what I'm arguing is that classic Christmas would be the Grinch. So I don't know. I love jazzy music in the background for Christmas, but I wouldn't say that it's like my number one Christmas music or something that I've ever heard anyone say, "Oh yeah, that's the Christmas song for me."
All right.
Okay, well,
we'll start
I'm
locking
feeling
in
pretty
here,
good,
and before we go though, Schlender, I know I watch both every year. I have to, and I think you're in the same boat there.
Oh, absolutely. I watch both every year, and actually, I took an informal poll with my children, and I did it a couple different times because I knew we were doing this. You know how mercurial kids can be.
Yeah.
Every single time I asked them, every single time they said Charlie Brown.
Wow.
Yes.
I would think kids would like Grinch more because it's brighter and colorful.
I asked them independently of each other too, so they wouldn't influence each other. And like every time they said Charlie Brown, but you know what? My kids are wrong. I'm going with the Grinch. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why on the strengths of the cases. Ryan was smart to hang his hat on the fantastic technical work that Chuck Jones brought to it. And for me, that's what sticks out in my head. I love cartoons. I love Chuck Jones's work. And I do love Charlie Brown. Don't get me wrong. But I tell you what, every year, it's the Grinch for me. So I'm locking it in.
All right. And a little backstory to this episode, too, is we watch these and we always kind of watch them back to back. And I know this year you had weighed in that you said Grinch was your favorite. I weighed in that Charlie Brown was my favorite. I think there's something, I think the music is more iconic to me. I know not Kaleigh, but for me, the music is, it isn't Christmas till I hear that brush drum and the kids singing. They're so sweet. They're so funny in their delivery. But then I think there is a nice message there besides just the Jesus-y stuff, which is there. It's that even all the kids all come together and they put their obvious petty problems aside for the one day a year, and they like Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown gets to be happy for one day a year. I am going to go Charlie Brown and leave it up to Kaleigh. I wonder which one she'll take. Will she swear?
I'm so glad I don't have to make the
What does Kaleigh like more? Her very, very good friend Ben or her favorite Christmas special?
Man. So I would have to say that I'm going to have to go with the Grinch. It just, it's not only is it my favorite Christmas special, but I think that the subtlety that Ryan spoke to, that the message wasn't, it didn't need to be over explained. It didn't need to be larger than it was, and it was still incredibly effective. And the animation style is just beautiful. So I'm just going to have to go with that because those were the two arguments that felt the most meaningful to me that I heard.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Well, we should get out there and tell that verdict. Kaleigh, since you're the foreperson, you have to say that we have to go tell that very handsome judge.
All right, we have to go tell that very handsome judge our verdict.
You.
Mrs. Foreperson, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 1966, verse A Charlie Brown Christmas, we find How the Grinch Stole Christmas to be the superior beloved holiday special.
Man's best friend. The verdict is so rendered. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is hereby declared the superior holiday special. I never thought a Charlie Brown Christmas was just such a bad little special. It's not bad at all, really. Maybe it just needs a little love. Court is adjourned.
This is Thrall Rosenscroft from the Gabahoo Gazette. Your mean one, Mr. Rodriguez. You did your best on reels. Your case was full of facts. Your opponent you made squeal, Mr. Rodriguez. You're the winning lawyer. How does that make you feel?
Well, thank you. Was it Charles? Is that what you said your name was?
Charles, I think.
No,
yeah.
Thrall. I'm a public
Singular.
figure.
Oh, of course, yes. Oh my God, it's so nice to actually win. I had forgotten what it was like, and now I feel godly. And now it's all going to go to my head, and I'm going to become the new messiah of the holidays. Thank you very much.
The new Who Messiah.
Thank you. And here comes Mr. Haslar. You nauseate me, Mr. Haslar. With a flimsy case on film. You're a Twitter-level critic, and the jury told you where to stick it, Mr. Haslar. You're a poor juror, convincer.
Oh, I read my wrong lyrics.
You just
Oh.
start just the line
Charles.
again. Is
All
that
right,
okay?
All right, I'm gonna start again.
Not from the top, please.
Well, no. It's only 5 lines. It's only 5 lines.
You're foul one, Mr. Haslar. Your points were really tossed. Your pleas fell on deaf ears. The jury was full of frost, Mr. Haslar. The 3 words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, lose, lost, lost.
That was 5 completely new verses.
Yeah, no, I know. I read the wrong. I should have deleted that other one.
Delete you. Ben, talk to this guy.
Christmas time is here. Well, you know what I'm doing is I'm practicing my karaoke for the next time Kaleigh and I are together because I will be singing it instead of the Grinch because yes, I'm making it happen. But no, well, I do think that I had the superior film and the superior case. It was a joy to stand toe to toe with my friend Ryan Luis Rodriguez and fulfill that 2 or 3 year long dream of having checked off all the boxes of competing against every single lawyer on Reels of Justice. I think someone beat me to it, Jeremy Black, but to be the second one, I guess that's not so bad. So all in all, it was a good day.
Well, thank you very much. That's all we have from the courthouse today. Let's go back to the studio for post-trial analysis.
It's great.
Great.
That gimmick would have worked a lot better if Ben didn't do in his opening statement and totally.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? I already had the lyrics parodied.
Totally
and
sniped it
written
from
down.
you. But,
Well, I think I have the better Rosencroft impression. Ravenscroft?
I don't think anyone
Ravenscroft.
agrees with that.
Let's ask his widow.
Ben's widow?
That's sad.
I was a little lost there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But fun case, everybody, and I guess pull back the curtain. Brian, do you think Grinch is the better one?
I don't know. I was so enchanted by Charlie Brown Christmas in this rewatch that I'm not sure. I think I actually might like Charlie Brown more.
So if you were in the jury, you probably would have went Charlie Brown. And Ben?
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Charlie Brown's slightly superior, although I do love both of these. So it's only slight. You know, I have no problem with anyone saying the Grinch is their favorite.
I just love any children's special that will talk openly about depression. I adore that in ways that I cannot even properly, adequately describe.
That's why you like the peanut butter solution so much.
That's probably it. But fun case, and I think this probably was a matter of who was in the jury and not. They're definitely 2 5-star specials, and everyone should watch them every year. I know I always do, and probably will forever. We watch them twice this year.
What do you, the listeners at home, think?
Yeah, is it Nestor, the long-eared donkey? Let us know. Anyway, so Kaleigh, you're our guest. What have you been up to since the last time we saw you?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. How long has it been since you guys have seen
Too
me?
long. It may have been last Christmas.
Last Christmas.
I think you refused to talk to us ever since Kirk Cameron.
I did. I was just like,
Could Kirk Cameron teach Charlie Brown the meaning of Christmas?
You're going to Paris for Christmas, though. I'm totally envious of that.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow for Paris.
I saw a documentary about this. Do not leave your husband at home alone. She will try to break in.
Yeah, I'll see if my cats get up to some shenanigans to, prevent some robbers from getting in. But that would be actually more delightful.
If they don't, cans
than
on
not.
Strings. That's always the way to go.
You know, I think so. I don't know about their thumb abilities and tying, but we'll see what they come up with.
Yeah, I watch a lot of MythBusters, and I wonder, do they ever do a Home Alone special where they recreate all the things to see if
it was 20 seconds long. They said it's all bullshit, and then they ended the episode.
Is that true?
If you do get electrocuted, you do turn into a skeleton. They proved that.
Well, I just want to know, like, if I want to see like a ballistic stummy doll get hit by the paint can and see if it crushes their skull.
Oh yeah.
That's
see, is it realistic that these people would still be up and walking after like the very first frontline attacks?
Yeah. Like, how much pain would you be from the doorknob? Would you be able to do anything after that?
I mean, yeah, your hand would be totally effed, right? Like,
yeah,
you'd be in bad shape.
Yeah, you might. I
would have given up after slipping on the ice. Honestly, I'm out.
Yeah,
you've always been a lousy burglar, Ben.
I know
that's true. But Paris, that's going to be cool. City of Lights.
Yeah, they have a pretty amazing Hanukkah lighting that we're going to go to. Because most of the nights of Hanukkah we're going to be able to celebrate there. And then everything is set up for Christmas pretty early, and they've got these beautiful Christmas displays in there. I don't want to call them department stores. It's kind of like a mall, but it's, they've got like those exterior displays that are just like these beautiful animatronic, like creative art displays. So those are really
like
cool
Saks
to see.
Fifth Avenue, kind of.
Yeah, basically like Saks Fifth Avenue, but like I'm pretty sure
it's the Champs-Élysées.
And it's not off of Champs-Élysées. It's actually off of Rue Opera. I can't remember what the it's the Opera Street.
Mm-hmm. Rue Opera. Yeah.
So very excited to go see all of this. I'm also going to be there for New Year's, so I get to ring in the new year looking at the beautiful fireworks behind the Eiffel Tower. So can't complain about that. Definitely going to eat a lot of chocolate croissants.
Ooh, that does sound good, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of wine and cheese. And
unfortunately, neither of those things. I am pregnant.
Oh my goodness! Congratulations!
Wow. And lactose intolerant.
We're all going to be uncles.
Just you're not allowed to have unpasteurized or soft cheeses while you're pregnant. So I could do some hard cheeses, but the wine is definitely taking a back seat.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we agree with that. And I learned something new about the cheese thing. So
there's a ridiculous amount of not fun you're allowed to have while you're pregnant. So in addition to feeling crappy all the time, you also can't
eat cheese.
Splurge in anything.
Gotta be the worst. Can't eat cheese.
I have it on good authority. You
like Bachelor chow from
pickles
Futurama, where it's just like this one thing that you just always get to eat. Like it'd be like pregnant chow.
Pregnant chow. That sounds good.
Well, congratulations, though. Seriously, that's tremendous news.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They didn't tell us. Probably I did know through social media, but I can't remember anything.
We only just recently announced it. We're not super far along. I'm in my second trimester, but yeah, it's been a long time coming, so we're very excited by this.
Awesome. Congratulations.
That's so cool.
Now, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see, but since it's a holiday special, it could be a holiday movie or another TV special, but what is your holiday decommendation that you think people should see?
Yeah, so I think
Copyright Ben
this year, because I'm pretty sure what I recommended last year is my favorite, which is It's a Wonderful Life. So I'm going to recommend something different this year. Klaus, if you guys haven't seen it, it's an amazing
Son
animated.
of a bee.
Oh,
you stole it.
Yes! Man, this is my recommendation.
Recommendation.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful movie. It's so funny, and the animation style is gorgeous, and it just, it touches your heart in so many ways. Great modern Christmas movie. We don't really have a whole lot of good modern Christmas movies.
What is the what year is this, or
I think
who's
it was
in
released
It's 2019 on Netflix.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ben has that on lock.
I have a whole paragraph. I'm very mad. I'm never inviting you on the show ever again because you steal my recommendations.
Interested, Ben, in your decommendation. We're talking to Kaleigh right now. But like, who's in it? What's it about?
So it's about a spoiled little rich kid who's, lived with a silver spoon, just expecting to get handed, a wealthy life and not having to work or do anything for it. And their father cuts them off and says, no, you have to go earn your way to the top working through the postal service, which is, he sends him off to the most remote island to do the worst postal work in the entire company. And he goes to this island, where everybody there is just vicious, and it's a little bit like Romeo and Juliet-esque, where they're kind of like warring factions. And he, is trying to just kind of like check boxes and like do really easy workarounds to leave there as soon as possible because he has a specific quota he has to meet. And through his time there, he ends up, meeting, people who inspire him to be a better person and to really get in touch with himself as a decent human being. And no longer does he just want to leave the island, he actually wants to make the island a better place. And there's a lot of overtones that this person that he encounters in the woods it feels very Santa Claus-like, and it's supposed to be similar to, oh, here's a potential origin story for Santa Claus. And so he just kind of gets his studio running and gets him to deliver toys to kids and joy. And, it's heartwarming and funny, more than anything. It's just really funny.
All right, no, that's it sounds very sweet, and I can think of some people I should cut off who could probably use an experience like that. And we also happened to do a Secret Santa exchange, so let's see who had Kaleigh. Ben, I believe you did.
There you go. It's a recommendation you stole.
No, she gets to open it and.
All right. Oh, that's craftily wrapped here, Ben. Okay, feels heavy, square, book-like. Oh, it is a book. All right, it's a book on the true meaning of Christmas, quotes and other thoughts by Linus Van Pelt. Aw, Ben.
Should have given it to you before the trial, I think.
Maybe would have helped.
Sounds good. Ryga, you were victorious today, so what is your decommendation?
My trecommendation this week is another beloved holiday classic, Henry Selick's 1993 feature directorial debut, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton typically gets a lot of credit for this masterpiece, but let it be said that he merely wrote the story and created the characters, and for said efforts earned his name above the title. But it's Selick who brings this project into the light, directed with such a sure hand and dynamite command of tone and texture. I have often acknowledged stop-motion animation as the pinnacle of the medium, everything designed and executed by hand in painstaking detail, and this is easily one of the best of the bunch, if not the best, bar none. The songs by Danny Elfman are brilliant, the design aesthetic is beautiful to behold, the voice cast is exemplary. If you haven't seen The Nightmare Before Christmas in quite some time, or have never seen it at all, You owe it to yourself to experience it again and soon. The Nightmare Before Christmas is currently streaming on Disney+.
That's right. Now, Ben, correct me. I think we've done that. Haven't we recommended that one?
Yeah, Rob has, but we've.
Yeah, stealing my recommendations too. And because of that, I was your Secret Santa. But I'll be keeping your gift.
Oh no!
Here it is. Here you go, Ryan. Merry Christmas.
It took 2 of us to wrap it. It's so big.
Crinkle, 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 crunch, crunch, crunch. Unwrapping.
Why he's saying
unwrapping
that?
Sounds.
It's clearly unwrapping.
Sounds.
God, that's what I'm hearing.
This is recorded on Tuesday and it's airing on Thursday. He's saving you some work, Rob.
I can't believe it. It's the director's cut of Tar featuring 30 more minutes of Cate Blanchett. Oh, I'm so delighted.
Yes, a lot of those 30 minutes were taken candidly over the summer before the film was recorded.
On an iPhone.
Yes, on an iPhone, but it is 30 minutes of footage. So Merry Christmas.
And it is of Cate Blanchett.
Yes. Big Ben, you've had a lot of time to think of another recommendation now. So what is your holiday recommendation?
No, actually, I'm thrilled Kaleigh likes Klaus because it really is a good movie. So it's double recommended. You should check it out. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to go obvious and not have anything written out. So I'm going to recommend or decommend one that I watch almost every year because my family sort of made it tradition. And that's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's kind of obvious. A lot of people do quote it, but for me, it's one of those ones that do feel like Christmas, the pain involved into it and the joy. And it was forced upon me, but it did become one that I do adore. And it has surpassed, I think, every other vacation film. That I think that this is the one thing that people think of when they think of Clark Griswold and Cousin Eddie. So if you haven't seen it for whatever reason, you should check it out. It is certainly the funniest Christmas movie, if it misses maybe some of the meaning, because National Lampoon is all about that. And who is my Secret Santa?
Well,
Dylan is your Secret Santa. So
that's right. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna wheel it in. Here we go. Oh wow, that was heavy.
That wheelbarrow was greased so well I couldn't even hear it.
I see we got a Russian doll thing going on here. Box after box after box. Good one, Dylan.
Yeah,
and what do we have in our 25th box? A jump drive. And it is Dylan's new podcast, You're a Good Man, Charlie Bronson. And there's a note that it really finds its voice in episode 45. Well, thank you, Dylan. I'll surely give this a listen. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan guest stars for the telephone episode. It's great.
That was funny. Schlenzo, what is your recommendation?
Oh, Maynard, yeah, I love the Christmas time of year, and every time this year I go to my favorite website in the entire world.
But you can't talk about that here.
Oh, I go to my favorite family-friendly website in the entire world, the Island of Misfit Christmas Specials. It's hosted by platypuscomics.com. That's comics with an X. We'll put a link in the show notes. Don't worry.
No.
And on here, they have cataloged all sorts of Christmas specials that only ever aired once or had very limited runs, like maybe a couple times, and that are pretty much all pretty terrible, So it's not the stuff we talk about on this show here for like these head-to-heads. These would be straight up guilty or not guilty. So most of them would be guilty. And one of the first ones they ever introduced to me when I started going there all those years ago was Up on the Housetop, which was a 1993 animated special that only ever aired once, following the trials and travails of Curtis Calhoun, who is just a miserable little sad sack of a man who it's basically if he's Charlie Brown grown up. He lives in an apartment where no one really respects them. He doesn't like anyone else. There's a huge snowstorm, and he finds Santa Claus trapped on his roof, and Santa tells him the real meaning of Christmas, and he's able to bond with all of his friends in the apartment party. Now, for a long time, you weren't able to find this anywhere, but I am pleased to report that as of this year, as of right now, through tremendous efforts done by this podcast, it is airing on Tubi. That might be a lie, but it could be a Christmas miracle. So, Up on the Housetop on Tubi. Watch it. It's really not great, but it was a labor of love, and it's pretty funny. I mean, you got to give it a shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, with such a shining recommendation as that, who
Absolutely.
wouldn't? And who was your Secret Santa?
I believe I had.
I think it's Kaleigh.
Kaleigh, here you wait. Yo, so
Kaleigh gives you something.
Here I go.
Okay.
You already gave something to someone, Dylan.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
Remember the wheelbarrow?
All right. So, Kaleigh, is it this humongous one over here or this tiny one?
Yeah, so that's the tiny one.
Good.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Let me see.
The keys to his Lexus, isn't it?
All
Good
right.
things come in small packages.
That's what I tell everyone.
Oh my God, it's the Criterion Collection edition of every Charlie Bronson, J. Lee Thompson movie. All 9 of them in one box set. This is going to be great for my podcast. I'm very excited. Thank you so much. I'm going to watch these right now with all of you. We should pop one in. What do you think, Andrew?
That's all right. I got something right after this, Dylan.
We're so happy there'll be more Bronson and Thompson in the house. We really appreciate it. So I'll send us on home with my recommendation. You know, for me, Christmas just doesn't feel like Christmas without the Muppets. Of course, Muppets Christmas Carol is my favorite Christmas movie and has been for decades. And for the last few years, it seems like the rest of the world has finally begun to catch up with me. So let me once again set another trend for everyone to jump on. My recommendation this week is another holiday special from the folks at Henson, A Muppet Family Christmas from 1987. Fozzie Bear is heading up to spend Christmas at his dear old mother's house, and lo and behold, he's bringing the entire cast of Muppets along with him. And I mean the entire cast, not just Kermit, Gonzo, and the rest of the Muppet Show cast. No, they even invite the Sesame Street gang to join them. There's a sequence featuring the Muppet Babies, though they're represented by real-life Muppets rather than their animated counterparts. And even the Fraggles get a song and dance number. It is a veritable who's who of the Muppetverse, as all your favorite characters gather around under one roof to celebrate the holidays with Christmas carols both in and out of the public domain. A Muppet Christmas Carol is not currently streaming on Disney+. Those bastards! But some thoughtful citizen has uploaded the complete, unedited version of the special to YouTube, complete with commercials. And that is the medium I recommend, because several songs and scenes had to be cut from the VHS and DVD release due to copyright issues. As if Disney can't afford the frickin' rights to have yourself a merry little Christmas. Bah humbug. So definitely check that out. It is super warm and cute. And who is my Secret Santa? Ryan, it's you.
It's me?
Yes. Yes. Gimme.
Here you go.
Crinkle, crinkle, unwrapped sounds. Ryan's goat gimmick. And oh my God, signed drumsticks from Neil Peart, now deceased, R.I.P., the drummer of Rush. Thank you so much, Ryan. I'm going to start banging these around right now all over the house while Dylan tries to watch Charlie Bronson movies.
Hey, stop banging my DVDs! No!
That's me. That drumming you heard, that was me.
That was you? That was good.
Yes. Anyway, so I'm glad that this holiday season could bring us all closer to the heart. That's a Rush song, Ryan. But we are all out of time, but we want to thank our guest, Kaleigh DuLac, for joining us. Thank you so much, Kaleigh.
I'm glad to be here, like I said in the beginning, but maybe I sound a little more enthusiastic this time.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe your heart grew 3 sizes. Enjoy Paris, or Paris, as they say.
Thank you.
And of course, motherhood, which I'm sure will be a blast. Baby DuLac will be on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have you back soon, maybe for another Kirk Cameron movie if you're lucky.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. And we hope that everyone else will join us as well. We hope you have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, a dignified Kwanzaa, and any other holiday that you happen to celebrate. Festivus for the rest of us, and of course a Happy New Year. And should we do that Charlie Brown gimmick where we sing, ooh? That's all we can do. That's all we can do. We hope everyone else will join us again as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Happy Halloween.
No!
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.